and welcome to the Webcast for Monday, July 6th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. We have a fairly deep marine layer to start off this new week, especially across the central coast, while the cloud pattern is shallower and more ragged over the south coast. These clouds should clear fairly quickly this morning, and unlike last week, we're going to be seeing a lot less in the way of marine cloudiness for most of this week. Our weather pattern this week will be dramatically different from the one which brought us so much cool weather and cloudiness last week. For most of this week, we'll see a gradually strengthening ridge of high pressure fluctuating between the desert southwest and southern California. That is going to bring us much warmer weather and in some cases the hottest air of the season so far. Here's a look at today's forecast highs. Even all these days later, we're still working our way back from the deep troughing pattern last week, but we finally worked our way back to near to a little above normal temperatures to start this week off with mid-80s to mid-90s in the valleys. Another notable occurrence this past weekend was a surge of moisture associated with the remnants of Tropical Storm Douglas. This was mostly mid and upper level moisture, but it did bring us a big increase in cloud cover and some higher humidities and even a few light showers. And we do still have a little bit of that tropical moisture around today, which will keep our minimum humidities more in the 20 to 30% range above and inland from the marine influence. Expect winds to be light and mostly terrain-driven today as light onshore flow prevails. With that little bit of tropical moisture still around, isolated showers and thunderstorms will be possible along and east of the Sierra Crest this afternoon and evening. Dry weather will then prevail for the next several days. As high pressure continues to strengthen, we're going to continue warming things up over the next few days. Take a look at the forecast highs by the time we get to Wednesday, with upper 90s and triple-digit readings becoming much more widespread. This should be about the warmest that we get, with temperatures mostly leveling off from here, and in fact by late in the week we'll likely see some resurgence of the marine influence, bringing some cooling especially west of the coastal slopes, but it will remain hot, especially across the interior. With west to southwest flow aloft, we're also going to be drying the air mass out more in the next few days. Minimum humidity will fall mainly into the teens or even upper single digits away from the increasingly shallow marine influence by Wednesday through most of the rest of the week. There will also be areas of fair to poor recoveries in the foothills and mountains, with thermal belts becoming increasingly active. As is typical with high-pressure patterns, winds will be mostly light and terrain-driven this week. Light onshore flow will generally prevail. Still, some localized afternoon and evening breeziness is likely in the usual windy spots. After hot and dry weather for most of this week, all eyes are going to be on the pattern by the time we get to the upcoming weekend. By then, the upper-level pattern looks to become much more conducive for monsoonal moisture to work its way into the region. While there are many details still to be worked out, expect a significant increase in the potential for thunderstorm activity by Sunday and into early next week, with early indications suggesting the entire region may be in play for thunderstorms. This could bring a major increase in lightning-related fire activity, but potentially beneficial moisture as well. It all depends on how things shake out with the upper level pattern. In the meantime, after a long stretch of above-normal dead fuel moistures, we'll see steady and in some cases rapid drying trends this week, driving our dead fuel moistures near to below normal in most areas by later this week. But it will take a few days to get there in the medium and heavier fuels, as we're still recovering from the effects of last week's weather. Similarly, ERCs will be on strong rising trends this week and will exceed the 80th percentile in much of the region by midweek and locally reach the 90th percentile or greater by later this week. So after a long stretch of unusually low fire danger conditions, fire potential will be trending upwards this week. For today, we will keep things in the moderate category and still pretty well below normal for this time of year as we continue to slowly recover from the recent cooler pattern. But take a look by midweek after another couple days of warming and drying, with our large fire probability getting well into the elevated category where it will likely stay for the remainder of the week. Expect initial attack to trend more consistently into moderate territory as the week goes on, thanks to rising ignition components and increasing probabilities of ignition. While lighter fuel types will be of greatest concerns, we are definitely getting to the time of year, especially in a pattern like this, where heavier fuel types can very much become involved in fire carrying, increasing the potential for fires to burn actively across multiple burn periods. In addition, while there is still a lot of uncertainty, the lightning event this weekend could potentially produce numerous fire starts, with growth potential more contingent on the ensuing weather conditions. High-risk issuances are distinctly possible in the next couple of days, depending on how the pattern evolves. So after a long, quiet stretch, it is probably going to be feeling a lot more like fire season this week. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. Next one will be on Tuesday, July 7th.